大家晚上好，谢谢你来支持我们。Selamat malam. Terima kasih kerana sudi hadir untuk menyokong kami. Terima kasih. அனைவருக்கும் மாலை வணக்கம். இங்கே வந்து ஆதரவு கொடுத்ததற்கு மிக்க நன்றி. Now let me just say a little bit in Malayalam as well. ഇവിടെ കുടിയിരിക്കുന്ന മലയാളി സുഹൃത്തുക്കളുക്ക് ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഓണം ആശംസകൾ. ഇവിടെ വന്നതിന് നന്ദി. Now, bear with me for a little bit. I will start in one of our other official languages, Tamil. அன்புள்ள குடியிருப்பாளர்களே, சிங்கப்பூரின் செம்பவாங் மற்றும் உட்லண்ட்ஸ் நகரங்கள் தனி சிறப்பு வாய்ந்தவை. இவை நமது அழகிய நவீன வடக்கு நுழைவிலாக வழங்குகிறது. இங்கு வண்ணமயமான பூங்காக்களும் அழகிய நீர்முகப்புகளும் மற்றும் பல நவீன வசதிகள் நிறைந்துள்ளன. இந்த இடம் நம்முடைய புதிய திட்டங்களோடு நிறைய வளரப் போகிறது. நம்முடைய பின்னால புதிய MRT ஸ்டேஷன், woodlands சவுத் ஸ்டேஷன் வரப்போகிறது. இந்த பக்கத்தில் கம்போங் அட்மிரல்டி என்ற புதிய டெவலப்மெண்ட் வரப்போகிறது. ஆனால் இந்த புதிய திட்டங்களும் புதிய டெவலப்மெண்ட்ஸும் எல்லாம் வரும்போது செம்பவாங்கின் அந்த உறுதி மாறக்கூடாது. செம்பவாங் ஒரு வண்ணமயமான இடமாக இருக்க வேண்டும். மக்கள் செயல் கட்சி உங்களுக்காக சிங்கப்பூருக்காக செயல்பட போகிறது. உங்களுடைய ஆதரவோடு எங்கள் திட்டங்கள் எல்லாம் நாங்கள் உருவாக்க முயற்சி பண்ணுவோம். நன்றி. Now, let me say, well, more than a few words in English. A very good evening, everyone. The People's Action Party has been here for a very long time. It was actually in Sembawang that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew made his famous speech in the Sri Narayana mission, where he said 10 years ago, where he said 100 years ago, we were a swampland. Today, we are a thriving city. 10 years from now, we will be a metropolis. And that was a promise he kept. We have inherited a very proud legacy from our forefathers, from our founding fathers. And with this legacy comes a very heavy responsibility. Now, Sembawang is a very special place. Sembawang is special for many reasons. The culture of Sembawang, the gotong royong spirit is very strong. All of you here are clear evidence of it. In Sembawang, when you ask for help, the people around you will come forward. When you ask for volunteers, people around you will come forward. Everyone is there for everyone else. And this is something that is very special. This, I think, comes from Sembawang's history. Many of you come from the old kampongs. Some of the Indians come from the old naval base. And despite all of our history, although we've moved into new developments, moved into beautiful HDB flats, beautiful private houses, we have not lost that old spirit. The surroundings of Sembawang are also special. You have the beautiful waterfront, you have parks everywhere, and you have wide open spaces. This field is a classic example. This is where many young children in Admiralty come and play soccer. So for those of you who miss playing soccer tonight, my apologies. I hope you're with us watching the rally as well. But around us, you also see all the plans for the future. That big work site at the back, that's where the woodlands South Station is coming. Now, my friend Dr. Lim has spoken a lot about the developments in Sembawang. Woodlands will also develop. Woodlands Central area, for example, Causeway Point, that's a very popular hub for many of you. But many of you have also told us Causeway Point is very crowded, you'd like more developments there. You'd like more options. And that will be coming up. In fact, the whole area from Causeway Point all the way to the Woodlands waterfront is slated for development in the next 10 to 20 years. But these developments will take place bit by bit. And with your support, we can slowly bring us there. But much closer to home, we have seen a lot more developments coming. And these developments all come really because we've been working with you. What do we mean by working with you? For me, one of the most humbling lessons as an MP was really realizing that when you meet people and you get feedback, there are actually things you can do with that feedback. For example, this beautiful community center that has come up here is the Place Community Center. Now, when this place came up, surveys were done of residents, finding out what they wanted, what facilities they needed. Residents said we wanted a gym, we wanted karaoke facilities, and all of this have come up here. So in many ways, we hope that this will continue to be your home, because everything we do really is done with a lot of your input. Some of you who are coming here, you may have taken the bus, the 901 bus. Anyone here? Okay, I see a few hands, yeah, okay. The 901 bus is one of those that has served most Admiralty residents. And I remember when I first came in and I was doing all my house visits, people were saying, oh, the 901 bus, too crowded, cannot get on board. So what did we do? Well, happily at the national level, there was a very good policy, the Sept program. Thanks to that program, we were able to push for more bus services, and more bus services for 901. We listened to your feedback. When you told us the bus services were crowded, you couldn't get on board between 6:30 to 7:30 a.m., we actually had volunteers go down to check how frequent the buses were, how long it took people to get on board. The LTA was very helpful. They sent officers to come down and check as well. And thanks to all this feedback, we were able to push for more services. So more than 60 trips have been added to 901. Thank you. Now, thank you. And is there more we can do? Definitely. I mean, if we still continue to have problems, let us know and we will do whatever else we can. Another bus service that has come up, 951E, also thanks to the BSEP program. Yes, I think some of my friends there take that bus. Now, this bus service was started because residents said they wanted more direct access to town. So we started with a small pilot. There were only 2 buses in the morning, 2 buses in the evening. But this bus was so popular, residents gave me feedback straight away saying, oh, the 2 buses, but we can't get on board. So 2 buses became 3, became 4, became 5. Now it's 6 buses and double-decker buses. So I now understand from my residents who are at the last bus stop that they can get on board the bus. If any of you still have problems, let us know and we'll see what else we can do there. Some of my residents who are living further up in the 600 blocks, they wanted a direct bus to go to the MRT station. Now, it's not easy for us to get buses because it takes a lot of negotiation and it takes a lot of discussion, and I can't just say that because residents in a few places want the bus, we can get it. But new developments came up on the other side. New schools came up. Admiralty Primary School came up. So we were able to ask for a bus service that went from there down through our area going to the MRT. And this is the 904 service, which many of you take as well. So these are all little improvements that we've done, but hopefully these little improvements have made your life a lot better. But there are also big improvements. One of the things that residents asked, I remember back in 2011, this was especially the residents staying in the 600 plus blocks. They were all saying, we don't have enough options for food. We would like a hawker center. We would like a medical center that's a little bit nearer. Now, one of the wonderful things is that we had a lot more than this with Kampong Admiralty. And this was in large part, I think, thanks to our good minister as well, who had this idea of having a whole integrated development that brought together not only the hawker center, not only the medical center, but other things we needed as well. It's like childcare center, senior activities center. So all these things that people had asked for are now going to come in one big, beautiful development. So I believe this is what we mean when we say the People's Action Party is with you and for you. We listen to what you have to say, we try and push for it where we can, and of course there are constraints we face, but to the best of our abilities, we will fight for you. And this happens in things both big and small. I remember one of our residents, Mr. Money, who lives in the Champions Way area, he was saying that he wanted a ramp because he was handicapped. He wanted a ramp to link him to the shops in Champions Court. This was a small little thing, but it made a big difference to him and many of our other disadvantaged residents who had trouble getting down to the facilities in Champions Court. Some of our young families, one of the things young families requested for were childcare centers. So childcare centers were in short supply early on. I think there was one childcare center run by PCF. Since now we have 2 childcare centers run by PCF and a number run by private operators. Some of these were in Woodlands 11. And I remember residents were saying to cross the road to Woodlands 11, it's not so easy, it's a bit dangerous. They suggested a traffic light junction. Again, LTA was very cooperative. They worked together with us and our volunteers, and we were able to put up a traffic light to take care of resident safety. So in many ways, being an MP has been a wonderful honor because it's been a chance to identify what are the real problems that make your life better on a daily basis. What little things that cause you trouble, and where we can help, we have done our best to help. But being an MP has also been a bigger responsibility. It has also involved the opportunity to speak in Parliament on issues that are important to you. And in many ways, we've had a lot of cooperation on many different schemes. Many of you gave feedback in earlier years that you were concerned about medical help, about whether or not you would be covered for important critical conditions. You were also concerned about conditions being excluded. The new MediShield Life package that will be coming up soon, I think, will answer a lot of these concerns. The details will come out in November, and I believe that this will be good for many of our residents. CPF was also an issue that many people were concerned about. They had 2 concerns about CPF. One concern was, is my money safe? Is it going to be there? The second concern, and perhaps this is the one that most people had, is will I have enough for retirement? So the amendments to CPF scheme, which I think I've discussed with many of my residents in dialogue after dialogue, have really gone a long way to address this. Now everyone knows that they have 3 options. And of these 3 options, you can put aside more money and get more money in retirement, or put aside a bit less and get a bit less in retirement. But this is really a choice that you have. And the CPF is there to help you with this. So in many ways, one more policy that I think I should touch on, and this was also started from a very interesting MPS case I had. This was the bankruptcy laws. I remember when I first became an MP, a gentleman came up to me and he told me, I've been bankrupt for about 10 years. I've been paying every month, but I still have a large amount owing, and I don't know when I can be discharged. I'm having trouble traveling out. So I remember raising this at a GPC meeting, a the Government Parliamentary Committee meeting with the Ministry of Law, suggesting that maybe you could look at changing the bankruptcy laws. And at that point, the thinking behind the bankruptcy laws was that the bankruptcy laws should always make sure that borrowers are responsible. But I also believe that lenders should also be responsible in lending. I was particularly concerned at the time about the very easy availability of credit. People were just, institutions were just extending credit, and if someone defaulted, then they could get into paying high penalties and going into bankruptcy. So I actually suggested automatic discharge after a certain period of time, which is something Hong Kong has. Now, the bankruptcy laws, some years down, have changed. I last spoke about this in the budget debate. They haven't given an automatic discharge, but it's getting closer there. So right now, there'll be people who have gone through bankruptcy, say because of bad decisions, they will have a much easier chance getting discharged after a few years if they honor their obligations. Oh, thank you. Yes, I hope not many of you are. Some animal lovers. I think we have a number of cat lovers, dog lovers. I've had dogs when I was younger. I have cats now, so I'm a big fan of taking care of animals. But one of the loopholes we found in the Animal and Birds Protection Act was that there wasn't really any strongly defined duty of care to protect animals. So what we wanted to do was to make sure that people who owned animals took responsibility for taking care of them. Now, obviously, a lot of argument had to take place on how you define this duty of care and what its scope should be. But again, this was thanks to a lot of feedback from different groups, including a group headed by a fellow activist, Mr. Lewis Ng. So all these groups gave us a lot of very useful input, which we were able to take into account in bringing up a private member's bill, amending the Animal and Birds Act. Thank you. So for all of my friends who have given me support over the last few days, I'd like to say thank you very much. Doing a campaign is not easy. It requires a lot of walking, a lot of exercise. I'll enjoy exercising, so that's not a complaint. But what has really made it worthwhile for me and all of my volunteers with me is the smiles, the encouragement you've given us along the way. The People's Action Party, as I have explained, is really with you, and for Singapore. Majula, Singapore.